Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing. And I've got another setup combo out here today that we haven't tried, and one that I'm really curious to see how well it actually does. We've tested it once before, but that's been a while ago and through a different gun. And I think at the time it did nothing super special, but I'm curious to see how today's setup might actually perform with it. So for the load I've got out here today, I've got some of these old school 12 gauge Sellier and Bellot buckshot loads. These are a 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch 15 pellet double-aught buck load, and it's apparently about 1 1/4 ounces worth of buckshot. And 15 pellets of double-aught buck and a 2 3/4 inch shell, they're either really cramming them in there or the pellets themselves are probably a little bit smaller than what true double-aught buck is. And here's what the actual shell looks like here. Pretty clean design, nothing really too special. They have a clear little plastic overshot card there, but there's no wad or buffer material or anything like that down in there. It's just the buckshot pellets, but overall, not really anything too special to see with the shell itself. And as for the setup we're going to be running them through, I brought out the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag again, and I threw in this choke, which is the stock full choke for the gun, which full choke is typically what I like to run with most buckshot loads, unless there's something special like a flight control load, which these are clearly not any kind of special flight control load or anything like that. So for today's test, we're going to go with the typical full choke in the gun. And speaking of today's test, everything's going to be the same as usual. I have the big piece of paper down at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to see what kind of speed we're running, especially since those don't have any speed posted on the box. So we'll get you guys a view of the chronograph and we'll take our shot. Then we'll go down range and see how they actually performed as far as pattern goes. And of course, I have some templates out here like usual, circles and animal cutouts. That way we can get a better reference point as to how they actually would have performed in some different scenarios. So let's head up here to the chronograph and shoot these things and see what they actually do through the 835 this time. Alright, so that round gave us 929 through the chronograph. And just to double check myself, I had to go back through the channel and look at the last time I tested these to see what happened. And sure enough, the last time was 700 and something feet per second, and they were loaded really soft. And this time, 929 feet per second, and still very little recoil out of it, especially for a double-aught buck shell. So either these shells are kind of junk, or they're loaded extremely soft for a buckshot load. I mean, I guess they might have been some old or early design of a low recoil buckshot load potentially, but it doesn't say that on the box. But either way, 929 and almost no recoil is definitely a lot less than what I think they should be doing. But either way, let's go down range and see what kind of performance we actually did have here. Alright, so now we're down range here at 40 yards, and this is what we got. Now for reference points real quick, the white dot was my point of aim, and this paper is 36 inches wide by roughly 36 inches tall, and we had a total of 8 out of the 15 pellets actually hit this paper. Now I do think there was a 9th that got right down there on that bottom board for whatever that might count for. But overall here, I think that load is just, it's not loaded good, or it's junk, or I don't know. But clearly a very low velocity and not a very good looking pattern. So with that being said, I mean, the templates, we'll put a couple of them up here real quick just to see, but they're really not even going to tell us anything, to be honest with you. This is just a case of a pretty poor performing load here today. But I would normally start with the 10-inch circle, but clearly if we put that up there, there's not going to be a single pellet within a 10-inch circle. So I guess we'll skip that and go to a 30-inch and just see what it might look like. It ain't going to tell us a whole lot of information we don't already know, but at least we'll glance at it real quick for a second and see what it looks like. Alright, so here's our 30-inch circle, and if we roughly sort of line that up with my point of aim, that gave us 7 pellets out of a 15 pellet load that actually hit within a 30-inch circle at 40 yards. Definitely not very ideal and not a very dense pattern at all, I wouldn't say. Now, we have already seen that this is not a very good performer, but if you didn't test this before you just took it out in a hunting scenario, then you might be in some pretty bad luck on this one. But let's see just what would have happened if you would have been in that scenario and taken it out hunting and taken that shot on a deer. So let's put the deer template up and just see if you would have actually gotten the deer or not. Alright, so now we have our deer template up, and just for reference, we have his front leg down there and his neck starts to the right hand side. And if we put our point of aim with right about where we would want it to be, that gave us 3 pellets that hit this deer in total here. Definitely less than ideal, especially for a 15 pellet load. But the 3 pellets we did have hit, one hit maybe high lungs up there, but that one's still kind of on the edge. And these 2 back here, probably liver or maybe start of the gut area. So overall, do I think it would have been a dead deer? Yes, but that low of velocity combined with not very many pellets in not very ideal places, I think you would have been tracking this deer for a good long while. So definitely not ideal here at all. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance? Clearly, it is very less than ideal. I wouldn't really want to use that load for anything. Even if it was like chicken coop defense or something like that, there's better options out there than that, I would say. Clearly there's something a little bit odd going on here. I don't know if it's just these shells are loaded really weak for whatever reason, or if they were some kind of early adoption of a low recoil load or something like that. I really don't know. But as always, leave your thoughts down in the comments and let me know what you think about it. Should we continue to test these shells through some different chokes or something and just see what happens? Or what do you guys think? Or if you want to see these continued testing, then what should we continue to do here? Let me know all that down in the comments. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to film for you guys, so stay tuned. We've got some new loads coming as well, so you're not going to want to miss those. We do also have a channel Instagram as well as a mailbox where you can send things to the channel now, so if you're interested in that, I'll leave all that information in the description for you. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.